We're about ready to enter the castle, which is an analogy for the soul. In other words, we're about ready to come home to ourselves. And we've made a commitment to do that. To take the sacred journey, but it's not really a journey, it's just awakening up to knowing we're already there. But as a human being, we need these images and pictures to help us. And so we're crossing the drawbridge today. We're going to leave the beautiful woodland and meadowed land behind, and we're going to cross that drawbridge out of the exterior world of the senses and all of its chaos and illusion and challenge, and we're going to move into the interior realm of our being, into the soul, which is called the castle by many of the mystics, but especially the great St. Teresa of Avila in the 1500s. She was born in 1515, I believe. And so we're doing that now, and as we go in, we enter this amazing courtyard, and it's a beautiful circular lawn, because this is a circular castle with all its various mansions in round towers around this complex. And so in that garden, there are beautiful shaded trees and places of rest and beautiful shrubbery and flowers and all kinds of gorgeous things that your imagination can conjure up. I know mine does very well in that area. And so here we are, we're in, and as soon as we've crossed over the bridge and into the castle, the drawbridge is closed, and with it, the exterior world is closed out. And we are now in the soul's domain, the divine realm. And here we are safe and secure, and nothing fears, frightens, bothers us at all. And we're ready and strengthened and poised for what it is we are going to face willingly, so that we can overcome all that we have built up within us that has stopped us and blocked us from living here most of the time, hanging out in the soul most of the time, and being the best that we can be most of the time, what we are created to be. Now, in this beautiful complex, of course, there is this corridor, there is this hallway. It's like an old monastery setting. And the outside has arches, the inside have the rooms and the walls and so on. And it's like walking down a monastery corridor outside complex. And so you can still smell the sweet fragrances of the beauty and the grace of nature, and you can still feel the glow of the sun and see out into the garden on that side. And on this side, you have all these wonderful doors. First mansion. Okay, deals with three areas of our lives and living. One, chaos, and one, humility, and one, the seduction of the divine. Those are the three areas we're going to be visiting in the first mansion. There isn't time for us to do that, so we'll hone in on the seminal one, the most significant one for us today, which is humility. But in the area of chaos, what happens is that the exterior world creates chaos in the interior world of our being, because there is this gravity that pulls the intellect in two directions. Two directions. That's called the law of duality. So I'm all the time being pulled between two opposites in the exterior world. I always have two choices to make, one on the bright side of life and one on the shadowed side of life. That is always there as a choice before me. So we're free of that now as we move into the interior of the first mansion. So that's the chaos. And then the seduction of the divine happens because we know we have made the decision, we now have shown up, and we're here in this courtyard. And as we stop for a moment and pause, we feel the essence and the presence of the life of spirit absolutely filling us, saturating us, glowing, vibing within us. And we have that sense that I'm safe here and all is well, and I can do this thing that I have committed to do because all is well. And I begin to feel the sweetness and the yumminess of what it is to be intimately engaged with the divine. Yum. Now, in the middle is humility. Now, this is something that normally, on the exterior side of life, we won't want to particularly take a look at. It bothers us. But here, in our sense of soulfulness, we're very happy to look at this and to learn from this and to see what it is. Now, humility is, as I've said before, is deeply misunderstood. If you go to the Oxford Dictionary and you read what humility is all about, it says something like thinking and feeling of ourselves as being at a very low level in life and living, low estate, low esteem, not enough, all of that kind of stuff. Well, that's not true of humility in spiritual terms, on the spiritual side of life, in the spiritual realm. In the spiritual realm, humility is our champion that safeguards us and protects us. Humility is poise and strength. Humility is balance and calm. Humility is that which all of the sages and saints were cloaked in, covered in, saturated in, and it was their protection. It was their protection. Let me tell you, there didn't seem to be much of a threat from somebody who sat under a Bodhi tree, or somebody who was born in a stable, or somebody who had to her name 2 saris in a bucket to wash them one night and then for the next day, Mother Teresa, and somebody who went around wearing a loincloth and spun wool on a spinning wheel, Gandhi. Didn't seem to be much of a threat there at all, and yet Gandhi started the dissipation of the British Empire, began with the humility of one small of stature man, but big in spirit. You know, Buddha, Jesus, well, they still have their groupies, and lots of them, lots of them. Mother Teresa, her work continues. She's known as a household name. Humility safeguarded them, humility shrouded them. And every single one of them were put into situations whereby there was plenty of opportunity for them to be humiliated. And they were, but it didn't touch them. Now, there's a difference between humility and humiliation. So I am going to ask us all now to imagine. Now, you're going to do most of this work yourself at home because we can't do it here. But imagine with me now, you'll be doing this envisioning and meditation yourselves at home. Imagine now we're walking around the hallway of this castle, cobblestones, lovely cobblestones, and we come to a door. It's a pretty solid door. It's a mahogany door. It's pretty solid. And written on it is humility. And you and I are going to open the door. We're not actually, it opens for us. And the reason why it opens, all the doors in the mansions have to open from the inside. And what opens the door for us is our willing intention to enter in. And that's what opens the door. So we're entering into the room of humility. And it's a nice room. It's a simple room. It has a window that looks out onto the court. It has an easy chair, a nice leather chair. There's a little a table beside it with a lighted candle on it. It has a fireplace, and and just a very simple setting. Very simple setting. So we go and we sit down in the chair, and there's a letter there for us, and the letter we know is from the soul. But that you're going to take away with you and open up later on when you have the time, and the soul will have a lot to share with you in that letter. And so you sit down, but as you sit down in the chair, this feeling absolutely overcomes you. And it's a feeling of a real ripeness now, ready to look at this thing called humility. Humility. So for you and for me, the feeling is to go to humiliation, and we do. we go to humiliation. And there's another room down the corridor called humiliation, and you'll be going into that at home yourselves. And that will be a bit more challenging, but you're ready for it and you're poised for it. So we go into humility and we sit down and we feel the strength of it. We feel the poise of it. We feel the power of it. We feel the essence of it. We feel the protection of it. And we are the stronger for that. We are the stronger for that. But as we do, the letter kind of falls onto our lap. And we just have the sense and the essence of some of what's in there. And some of what's in there is the invitation to look at what has stopped us and blocked us from living from that strength of humility in our lives. And as we do, of course, what's going to come up is the understanding and the realization that what has stopped me and blocked me and held me back from the time I was knee-high to a grasshopper is my fear of being humiliated. My fear of being embarrassed and my fear of being shamed. That has stopped me and blocked me from the time I was little. And it has affected all that I am, all that I do, all of my life's aspects, all of my relationships, all of my situations, and so on. And you can just pause for one moment and remember one incident, just one incident when you were little, when you felt humiliated. One moment as a little one when you felt ashamed, embarrassed, humiliated. Embarrassment is the lighter side of humiliation, and humiliation itself is the deeper side of that, the more painful side of that. And indeed, humiliation causes us terrific and great unbounded suffering. So we suffer because we're afraid to be humiliated. We're afraid to be embarrassed. We're afraid to be shamed. And yet every single spiritual leader and sage worth their salt was humiliated, embarrassed, and shamed, or at least the attempt was made to make them feel those things. But they were able to succumb and not become victimized as a result of that endeavor on the part of others. However, we have allowed ourselves throughout the years to be victimized by embarrassment, by shame, by humiliation. So we get to look at the ways when we go into our room called humiliation, what that looks like. And we can go through as much as we can remember and feel safe in doing it because we're in our castle, we're at soul level, and it's okay to do that. So we will do that. And then we will look at how we ourselves have shamed, humiliated, and embarrassed others. Because what's done unto us, we do unto others, knowingly or unknowingly. We get to look at that, and then we get to make a decision about how much of that is still affecting my life now. How many times have I failed to pick up the phone and make that call because I was afraid that it wouldn't make any difference. I was afraid it would be a failure. I was afraid that I'd get a whole lot of comeback and be embarrassed at least or humiliated in the process of doing it, so I never did it. How many times have I not endeavored to mend or fix or heal something when it was clear in my mind that I got the impulse to do that because I was afraid of what the result would be. I was afraid, in other words, to put it very simply, what other people might think, what other people might think of me. Which is so ridiculous because other people are thinking it already of me. I can't stop other people thinking what they're going to think of me. And most of the time what they're going to think of me will be totally off the chart and have nothing to do with reality or truth. But it's their imaging and the story in their own mind that has produced what they think is me. Or you, as the case may be. And Caroline Myss tells the story of the lady who was jogging And she's been in the healing arts, and she's becoming more accustomed to the comfort of knowing that she's called to healing in some way. She's jogging away. She comes across a woman in the park who's devastated. She's hanging over her dog, screaming, crying, roaring. The dog has been injured, and the dog is in very bad shape. And she's thinking probably to herself, gosh, I wish I could do something. And she gets a command. It's very clear. Put your hands on that dog. Put your hands on that dog. And she's thinking to herself, oh, what if it looks stupid? What if it looks silly? What if it doesn't work? And she doesn't. And the dog dies. Now, the dog may have died anyway. But what might have happened had she responded to that command? It wasn't even a voice. She said it was a command that came from within her. And she didn't, because she didn't want to look foolish. She didn't want to embarrass herself, etc. How many times have we all chosen the less way to respond than the more way of responding? Also in this chapter, you'll come across the challenge of understanding, as she makes me laugh, and she also irritates the living daylights out of me sometimes. Because she slaps you right up the side of the head, and she kind of comes across as being really superior or imperious, but as if she's talking down. But knowing the woman, I know she's not. It's just her way. And so I really love her. She says, I have people coming to me all the time, and they're on their spiritual path, and they say to me, oh, Caroline, will you please help me and assist me to realize my full potential so that I can express myself fully? And she says, what they're really saying is, Caroline, how can I, as soon as possible, become famous, popular, rich, and glamorous? That's really what she's saying. She is saying to me. And when they're talking about self-expression, they're talking about the little self. They're not talking about how can I self-express, because with Caroline, there's one word to help you to self-express with the capital S, and that is become humble. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. So, and then there's this thing that gets into us, why we do what we do, and we come from pride, false pride, rather than from strength of humility. And that false pride shows up as one-upmanship. I'll show him. I'll show her. They may have embarrassed me or humiliated me. Humiliation, there's a certain amount of revenge attached to that. I'll show them. We say that success is the greatest revenge. We even say that. And I remember that well. I can remember when I was a novice in the convent, and we all had to take turns in playing for the benediction in the parish church, It wasn't something I particularly wanted to do, and yet it was expected of us all. And I can remember thinking that the novice mistress thought that I couldn't do it, that I couldn't do it. Right enough, I wasn't learning how to play the organ for very long at all, and yet my turn was going to be coming up soon. And in the convent anyway, it's like being in the Marines, because you're tested and you're tested and you're tested. You're insulted, you're humiliated, you're embarrassed. Anything that can be thrown at you is thrown. That was then, 200 years ago in Ireland. It's changed now, I believe. And it was thrown at you to see if your spirit could stand it, if your spirit could stand it, if you 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 wouldn't break under it, if you wouldn't break under it. So everything that could be was thrown at you. And let me tell you, you wouldn't be looking for appreciation or thanks or any of that there, that's for sure. You were doing for the pure love of life, the pure love of God. But getting back to my situation, I thought to myself, she made some remarks or whatever that I didn't. I remember, I'm young at this stage. I'm still coping with an ego and getting it trained and so forth. And so I remember just straightening myself up at the harmonium, which is how we practiced for the organ. Played the piece I was playing, and it was a piece of the Holy Spirit. Come Holy Spirit. And all of that. Well, I wasn't thinking about the words. I was very belligerent in what I was thinking and feeling. Played the piece anyway, and I knew I had 4.5 days to get ready for the benediction on Monday night. Okay. So I vowed to myself, I will do this. And not only will I do this, but I'll rock the house when I do this. They will hear a benediction that they've never heard before. This organ doesn't know what's coming to it. These were not the words, but this was the feeling behind my benediction. So I was as nervous as all get up on the night of the benediction that Monday night, but I knew this was pure force of will. This has nothing got to do with Spirit helping me or Spirit doing it or anything else. I got in there, I sat down at that organ, and I played like I've never played since or before. And it was a fabulous success as far as that is concerned. But then later, I spent the whole year trying to douse the pride that and the revenge and the one-upmanship and the feeling of, success in that way. But I have come to learn, of course, as the years go by, that motive is everything, and it's what you do with a pure heart that counts. And this first mansion has to do with purification, and it has many, many levels to it. Now, within each mansion, there are many doors, many rooms to be entered into. And you'll get that if you're studying the book. You're not going to get it if you don't study the book. And so don't be afraid to enter any room that calls you. And your own rooms will come up too. You'll create your own rooms as well. Your soul will create your rooms for you to enter in and to be working with and to be okay in. And so you go in there and you sit with an open receptivity and you say, show me, reveal to me what I need to perceive, what I need to recognize, what I need to know in order to be able to free myself to be all that I am here to be and what I'm created to be, and to fulfill my purpose for being here. And that purpose is to relieve yourself from suffering. Pain will happen. Suffering is an option. So the whole idea is the less we suffer, the nicer we are, and the more able we are to show up, in sacred service in a way that's poised and humble and strong and not selfishly motivated, consciously or unconsciously. So anytime you and I are doing what we're doing, or being what we're being with the hope of reward, then we're off center. Now, she really slaps us up the side of the head when it comes to reward. Don't you think you're going in there to be rewarded, and so on and so forth. You're not. You're going in there open and receptive to the grace and the wisdom and the guidance and the love and the light of the Spirit that you have responded to and shown up for, to get deeper into the soul's perception of you as you. And there's a gorgeous door there, a beautiful light crystal glass door that you're going to walk through. And when you do it, you're going to meet yourself as you are in truth. It's a room of jewels. It's full of gorgeous, brilliant, beautiful, awesome, unique things. And that's you at your essence. And you're going to get to meet that and see that and enjoy that very much, and then be humbled by it all and have that sense of it's not me of myself, it's God within me and my ability to allow that to come through. So please do what we were asked to do last week. Understand that our objective is to perceive and to listen. Our objective is to enter into a daily practice every day that promotes our soul, and to understand too that our states of mind can keep us out of our states of being. So this week we're going to take on humility and humiliation and merge the two and heal what needs to be healed as a consequence of that, because we can. So my dear ones, chew the book, digest the book, take what suits you and let the rest go. Take what serves you, let the rest go. It's not supposed to upset you or annoy you. It's supposed to soothe you and calm you and help you to come home to yourself. So I've known God by means of you is on the way, upward, forward, onward, deeper into the truth of your essence and being, and it can only be good and very good, and so it is.